Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is another Asian DVD collection addendum video. And tonight we're going to go through a bunch of horror films that I've purchased basically throughout the year that I have not yet covered. So we'll be going through these, fairly briskly, but there's a lot of them here, so it's going to take us a little while. So make sure you heat up some apple cider, get out your cinnamon sticks, because it could be a little while tonight. But I want to get through a bunch of these, because I'm way behind on my DVD collection updates. So since it's Halloween season, may as well knock out a bunch of the horror films. A lot of different countries are represented here in these pickups. Some of these I'm actually kind of embarrassed that I did not have in my collection initially, because some of them are must-haves, I think. Also, I will be kind of going off the cuff with my thoughts on these. I haven't refreshed my memory much regarding some of these, and some of these I haven't seen in years. But I do have some notes that I'm gonna pop up to help me with the plot synopses. So let's get rolling. Let's do it. Oh, also, I will include the titles for all these films in the description box below, as usual. But I will also include the year of origin in this video, so that you can jump on over to my Asian horror playlist, I guess you could say, and check out my mini reviews for each film based on the year of origin. So, for example, the first one tonight is a Vietnamese DVD that I purchased, and I actually have a separate review of this on my channel. And that is The Housemaid. Not to be confused with any of the Korean films of same or similar names. This one's set in Vietnam in the 1950s. A young woman is hired as a housemaid at a mansion of a French officer on a plantation. And strange things start to happen. This film has really good visuals to it, really good cinematography and direction, really kind of, I guess you could say, visually appealing. And it also has a little bit of a romanticized feel to it, kind of an old school classic horror feel to it. Remember, this is a Vietnamese film. And this film was actually released in 2016, so, I have not covered it yet on my Asian horror playlist because we're only through part 1 of 2014, but I do have a separate video review of this film on my channel. So check that out if you want more thoughts on this. This is a pretty cool movie. It's got some pretty cool horror sequences. And, that's all I'll say. Check out my review if you want more information. Now, this is the Region 2 DVD. I believe this is the UK release. So it's got English subtitles. In terms of special features, it doesn't really have much. You got, no, not much at all. But it's worth picking up if you have the means. Although it does have a second DVD on it. Is this the... Let me see here. Why does it have a second DVD? Oh, it's a dual format, Blu-ray and DVD, that's why. So special features are light. But check this one out, or if you're not convinced, check out my full-length review, spoiler-free. Next one is one that I just reviewed this week, and that is Satan's Slaves. This is an Indonesian film from my boy Joko Anwar, who is a very reliable director. I mentioned in my review of this movie that he previously directed The Forbidden Door, which is a fantastic horror film. And this one was very good. It gets very good reviews online, and I can see why. So you basically have... a family that lives in kind of an old house, and the mother of the family, I think, dies near the beginning of the film, and strange things start to happen. Kind of a typical plot. But again, as I said in my review, there's some familiarity to the scares and the plot in this film, but the execution is top-notch. Great performances, really good direction, everything looks really good in this, just like The Housemaid. And the direction in this is even probably better. Now, special features. Are there any special features on this? This is the Region 3, I think, Hong Kong release with subtitles. I don't see any special features at all, but this is a big one from recent years. If you want to keep up with Asian horror, You really have to watch this one. The Housemaid is a good watch. This one is a must-watch. I'll just say that much. And it's pretty unnerving at times, too. Some pretty cool scares in this. Again, I'm not like a huge fan of jump scares. This has some of them, near the beginning, but then it morphs into some different stuff, which I enjoyed. So definitely check out Satan's Slaves if you haven't already. Alright, now we move to Thailand here with my next DVD, and this is an Asian Crush release. Asian Crush releases are usually pretty bare bones, but this one is called The Unseeable. Now this film is one of those Thai horror films that kind of falls through the cracks. A lot of people miss out on the Unseeable. Let me get the plot synopsis for you. So in this film, it's set in 1934. The story involves a young pregnant woman who's searching for her missing husband. She stays at a spooky rural mansion of a widow. And, it's managed by caretakers and other creepy people. But strange things happen. I'll just say that much. Again, this movie, a lot like Satan's Slaves and The Housemaid, has very good production values. It looks fantastic. It's got a romanticized, classical feel, like The Housemaid. If you like classic horror films, this is a film you gotta check out. It's very proficiently made. It's got a dramatic base to it that's very good, and some interesting twists along the way. So The Unseeable is one that, if you read critic reviews of it, a lot of critics have very high thoughts of this one. Some critics consider it to be one of the best Thai horror films of all time, even one of the best Asian horror films of all time. But for some reason, it doesn't seem to get as much attention as it probably should. So this is the US release, and you could get it, I think, pretty cheap on Amazon, at least from what I remember when I bought it. I got it pretty cheap, and this is a very good, very high quality, classic style horror film for you to check out. The Unseeable from Thailand. Now the next one here is from Taiwan, and I have not seen this movie in a while, and I am very much looking forward to it, and that is Silk. Now this one I covered, I think, in my 2006 Asian horror playlist, and I also covered The Unseeable in my 2006. Were they both 2006? Let me check this out. Yes, they were both from 2006. So this one has a premise that should never work. It has a premise that should never work. You basically have a bunch of scientists who are researching ghosts, and they're researching a ghost of a little boy. That's the plot in a nutshell. And things kind of get out of control from there. But this is kind of a very, I would say, unorthodox ghost film. It takes a very scientific approach to things. You're trying to explain what a ghost is and that type of thing. And if you remember, the last section of Ring 2, the Japanese film, kind of tried to do that, but didn't really do a great job of it. This film, I think, does a very interesting job of that type of a plot. And, I'm really interested to see. I did not rewatch this when I did my 2006 Asian horror playlist because I didn't have time. But I'm really interested in seeing if it holds up. You know what I'm saying? Now, the special features, there's a making of on this. This is the English, the US release. You have a making of, an alternate ending, some deleted scenes and outtakes, the original theatrical trailer as well. Now, I think, who is in this? Oh yeah, Karina Lam is in this too. She was the actress from Inner Senses. She's also in this. So Silk is a pretty cool movie, and I'm getting the itch. I'm getting the itch to rewatch this one big time. I really am. So those are kind of the Southeast Asian kind of things there, horror movies there. And I think I might have. Let me check and see if I have another Taiwanese film. I don't think I do. No. All right. Now let's move to Japan, right? A heavyweight. And this is where I have most of my films, but I also have some South Korean films, as well as some other Hong Kong and Chinese films here. Yeah, this video is going to be long. Oh well. All right. So we got some big ones here. This one I covered, separate video. Don't even need to look at my notes. Miss Zombie. This movie got a US DVD release about a year ago or earlier this year. This is, as I've said in my, I actually focus on this a little bit in my Death of J Horror video. If you have not seen my Death of J Horror video, it's an 80-minute video that I uploaded earlier this year. Check it out. I'll include it in the description box below. Probably the best video I'll ever do on this channel. And I mentioned Miss Zombie, I think, multiple times in that. It's kind of the, I guess, the quintessential contemporary Japanese horror film, at least from the past 5 or so years. This movie came out in 2013, and it's just phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. It's shot in black and white, directed by Sabu, who did a plethora of, films that are kind of hard to find but are really good in the 2000s. And in this film, you have a protagonist who's a zombie. She's a female zombie. And in this world that this film creates, the zombie virus takes a long time to turn people. So you basically have a period where if you get bit, you turn into a zombie, and for a period of time, you're quite passive. As long as you're not near, I guess, bloody meat and get a craving for it, you're almost like a dog. You know what I mean? You're just kind of like, and people use these zombies as like household servants because they're really not that dangerous if you take care of them properly. So this lady is a household servant, and things go from there. This is a very artsy film, for lack of a better term, very slow paced, but it has a really good dramatic basis to it. I think it's a very emotional film that has a heart, and it is pretty disturbing at times as well. So, if you want to keep up with contemporary Japanese horror, you have to watch this. This is like if you had an opinion on Japanese horror films from the late 90s and never bothered to watch Ring. Like, that's basically what this is. So even people who may not like it because it's slow and artsy, you need to watch it just to have an opinion on what's going on in the industry nowadays. Now, this does not have any special features, but this movie is just phenomenal. I absolutely love this. Miss Zombie, check it out. All right, our next one here is quite special, but for entirely different reasons. You have the Crone. Yes, one of the most unintentionally funny Japanese horror films in recent memory, and actually I would say of all time. This movie is so stupid, it will have you in gut-wrenching laughter. Gut-wrenching laughter. I'm not exaggerating here, people. You basically have... I don't even know how to describe this. I covered this in my 2013 playlist. Let me check my notes real quick. It's like a J-pop band. You basically have this these pop singers, and they're completely talentless. And they're cursed by the spirit of an old woman who can run at super fast speeds. So this is almost like the ghost in this movie almost looks like she came straight out of a nursing home. Like she just died in a nursing home and then just became a ghost based on her condition. But she can run really, really fast. And she has white hair. There's scenes in this movie that are so awkward and badly made. They're just laugh out loud hilarious. So if you want a so bad it's good movie from recent years, check out The Crone. Check it out. It's funny. It's not a good film though. And now we move to a Japanese film from the 90s that is also a must-watch. Naked Blood, also known as Splatter. So this one is one of the most gory and disturbingly grotesque Japanese horror films you're going to see. Japan made a plethora of films kind of like this in the late 80s and 90s. Same with Hong Kong was doing the same thing at the time. But this one is really special. You have a scientist, like a young college student scientist who's kind of researching... I forgot exactly what he's researching, but he slips a drug, an experimental drug, into a few girls as an experiment, and they begin to find pleasure in self-mutilation. You can only tell how nasty this film's going to get. This movie has some legendary gore scenes that are just, still to this day, unrivaled, in my opinion. I still don't know how exactly they pulled off a few of the gore scenes in this movie. This movie is sickening and completely wrong. And I have a few movies here tonight that are in that category. So if you like movies that are just really nasty, this is actually kind of slow-paced, too, and kind of dreamy. And then the second half, it just brings the goods in terms of blood and guts, man. Yeah. You have to check this out, though. You have to. If you're into that kind of thing, Naked Blood is a must-see. It's legendary. It has a reputation for a reason. Next film, my favorite Japanese film of all time, Cure. I do have this in my collection, the American release. That release is out of print and really expensive. So I also got a kind of a backup copy, so to speak. I got the relatively recently released UK version, the Region 2 release, which is subtitled. And this has some interviews with some critics, an interview with Kiyoshi Kurosawa, a few interviews with him, 24-page booklet, and the booklet was written by Tom Mess, who's a very informative reviewer of Asian films, Japanese films specifically. Let's check this out. Let's check this booklet out here. Cure is about a serial killing hypnotist. And as I said, it's my favorite Japanese film of all time. It's, very slow-paced, kind of artsy, but it's just phenomenal. Like, it's unnerving, it's intelligent, there's tons of nuance and atmosphere to it. There's really nothing to see in this. There's a lot of just write-ups. Koji Yakusho is the lead character. But, Cure. If you haven't seen Cure, just watch it. It's essential viewing. And now that I have two versions, I don't have to worry about one of the DVDs conking out on me, because I have another one. And, this version's pretty cool. Some good special features. Check Cure out, people. Check it out. It's unbelievable. Alright, our next one here. Here's a new one. Alright, I got a few new ones here that I could probably talk about for a while. Alright. First one, well, they're both quite obscure, actually. Neither one of these have gotten a US release yet, so I bought the Japanese versions. This one, Snow Woman. This is the Region 2 unsubtitled release. No subtitles on this. This one is an adaptation of the Yuki Onna legend, the Snow Woman legend, which was previously addressed in Kwaidan, the classic Japanese horror anthology, as well as Ghost Story of the Snow Witch, which was released in the late 60s, both of which I covered in my Asian horror playlist. This is the recent adaptation from 2016, and it is very good. Very good. Even without subtitles, I enjoyed this. And you're in luck, because I'm going to do a full review of this on my channel this Friday, to kind of send me off on my vacation. It will be my last review before I go on vacation. This movie's really good. And I get into more detail, spoiler-free detail, in that review on Friday, so check it out. And check out my review. Alright. The next film here. This one, I might have to do a separate review of this one, too, at some point. I won't have time before I go on vacation, but man. Oh, man, this one is just, I don't know what to say. This is called the, what is it called again? The Innocent Curse from 2017. This is the Japanese release without subtitles. This is Takashi Shimizu's recent film. Now, this film, there's only a small handful of critical reviews online, but it got skewered by critics. Critics hated this. They're like giving it 1 out of 5 ratings and everything. So I was kind of going into it with trepidation. Now, I saw the trailer for this when I was in Japan on my last vacation. I went to see Blade of the Immortal, and the trailer for this came on before that movie. And the trailer looked pretty sweet. You had like this ghostly demon dude with a top hat, kind of like a carnival outfit, and a bunch of killer kids. It looked pretty cool. So when I started seeing reviews saying it was horrible, I was like, man, do I really want to splurge on a Japanese DVD of this thing? But I don't know when it's going to get released, and it's Takashi Shimizu. I had to blind buy it. The film is very uneven. I can understand why critics hated it. There's some scenes in this movie that are just so stupid. Really, really dumb. I mean, the main villain is just a joke. I don't know what Shimizu is. He was trying to go for an intentionally quirky vibe. Like, this is, I wouldn't say it's a horror comedy, but he was trying to go for, like, spooky fun. Kind of like the Kazuo Umezu manga horror series from the back in the day. It kind of felt like that. He was going for, like, a carnival, goofy, but still kind of creepy, and it just does not work. This movie is not scary at all, but it's so odd. I found it kind of oddly watchable. It's oddly watchable. And the lead actress in this is a very good actress that I'm kind of becoming a big fan of. So I'll cover all that. I'll do a separate review of this at some point, probably in the next few months. But just to keep you informed, just in case it gets an English subtitled release. But I kind of like this. Almost like this could almost be guilty pleasure status, I can see, in the upcoming years. Because it's not a good movie, but like the lighting is really good, the direction in terms of cinematography and everything's really good. You know, the lead actress I really like, and it's got some really odd stuff. But don't get too excited for Innocent Curse if it does get released with English subs. Alright, next one here is one that, again, probably doesn't get as much love as I think it should get. This film is called Love Ghost, also known as Lovesick Dead. Now this one is Ryohei Matsuda is in this. And it says here, Midori returns to the town where she grew up. When she arrives at the school, she notices a childhood friend, Ryuzuke, is in her class. Meanwhile, schoolgirls have their love fortunes read by a mysterious phantom boy dressed in black. And you summon the boy and you predict your love life, which you can just tell things are going to get bad. But Love Ghost, to me, this is one of those films that took multiple viewings for me to appreciate because it's very tempered. It's not especially scary, although it does get kind of creepy at spots. But this is a very, like, well-directed, well-shot film, very kind of atmospheric. It's got, this is a film that has a lot going for it. You know, check out my Asian horror playlist if you want some more details on it. I think this was a 2001 release, if I remember correctly. And it's very much worth checking out. And I'm really glad I have it in my collection because I look forward to rewatching it. Again, kind of a more tempered horror film. It's not visceral, but it's pretty cool. From the mind of Junji Ito, the creator of Uzumaki and Tomie. Alright, another one here from the 90s that's pretty odd. Organ, from the director of Id, one of the worst Japanese horror films of the 90s. But this one, the 2000s, I should say. Id was from the 2000s. Organ is pretty interesting stuff. This film is freaking bizarre, dude. It's like two horrific and blood-drenched stories intertwine. A police officer falls victim to a body parts selling syndicate. And then there's an alternate plot line of a biology teacher who conducts experiments on reanimated limbless bodies of a missing police officer. So, yeah, this is like a body horror film, for lack of a better term, and it gets pretty disgusting and grimy. It reminded me of Mermaid in a Manhole. Actually, the guinea pig short film, but this is better. It has more of a plot to it, a little bit of a thriller aspect to it, and it's very bizarre and quite memorable. Slow-paced and kind of odd. Very odd film. Weird stuff, but it's memorable. You know, I mean, it's great. This doesn't really have any special features to it. Neither does Love Ghost, but yeah, Organ, check it out if you want something weird. Check out my review, my Asian horror playlist. That film came out in 1996. And finally, in the Japanese section, another newer one that I bought, Dead Bangin'. I think that's supposed to be a playoff of Headbanging, because it's a metal film, kind of. It's about a group of girls who, start a metal band, and they recruit a dude zombie, to be like their, I don't know. He goes on stage and he screams and kind of headbangs, and the crowd likes him. So they recruit the zombie, and this film it's not quite as wacky as you might think. It's wacky. It's directed by Eiji Uchida, I believe, who directed Grateful Dead the same year. And this one is not quite as great as Grateful Dead, but it's a horror comedy drama, and it has a nice genre bend to it. It's got a little bit of each, and this actually stars the real-life J-rock band Gacharic Spin. If you're familiar with Gacharic Spin, they have a few good songs to their credit that I've heard. So they're part of the band, and they sing and stuff. And this movie's pretty funny. It's got a certain charm to it, headbanging, and it's pretty good. I enjoyed this one. I did, and I kind of look forward to rewatching it in the future. So I'm glad I have it in my collection. This does not have English subtitles, though. This DVD. I'm kind of hoping it comes out with it, though. This is the Japanese release. And Oregon was the American release, as was Love Ghost, the American release. Yeah, Innocent Curse was the Japanese release. So that's my Japanese section. Japanese section is done. So now let's move to the Korean stuff next. I'm telling you, this haul is no joke, people. Move some stuff around here. Gotta have some of this stuff. I get paranoid, people. I get paranoid. I keep hearing stories about streaming services taking movies off of their streaming libraries, and people can't find them anymore, and they didn't buy the DVDs, and the DVDs are out of print, and you can't watch the movie when you want to. Gotta be able to watch some of these. Alright. I got some big ones here in South Korea. You're all familiar with a lot of these. I Saw the Devil. Yes, it was not in my collection, unbelievably. This is the U.S. release. Again, fantastic revenge film. Kind of a blend of horror and thriller genres together. Byung-hun Lee. You basically have Min-sik Choi as a serial killer. He kills a woman during the beginning of the movie, and she just so happens to be the fiancée of a badass government agent in Byung-hun Lee, and he goes after this dude hardcore. Very violent film. Highly entertaining stuff. If you haven't seen this, it's Ji-woon Kim, doing what he does as a director. So totally check this out, people. You gotta watch it. Deleted scenes is a special feature and a behind the scenes. So yeah, it's got something to it. I gotta rewatch it. I have not seen I Saw the Devil in at least like 3 or 4 years. It's been a while. I gotta check it out. The next 3 films are in a franchise that I had to fill out. I had no choice. The Whispering Corridors series. So I got Memento Mori, which I haven't seen in ages. This is kind of the lighter version of it. This series of horror films is basically about schoolgirl friendship at its core. And each film is kind of a different story. So you can watch them in any order. I cover all these in my Asian horror playlist. Memento Mori is the lightest version in the franchise of the 5 films, and but don't let that deter you. It's a little bit more of an art house type film. Deals even more so with schoolgirl friendship and even a little romance mixed in. And I haven't seen this film in years. I really want to rewatch this one again. This is the Tartan Asia Extreme. Anything that says Tartan Asia Extreme brings back great memories for me. This has some special features, making of, music video, new releases from Tartan, and a photo gallery. And this one is, it's a girl discovers a shared diary and is soon fascinated to learn that 2 people she thought to be very close friends have in fact begun a forbidden romance at her school. And things spiral out of control from there. So, this is a really good movie. Check it out if you're into more dramatic horror films. If you're into scarier horror films, check out Wishing Stairs, which is the third in this franchise, the Whispering Quarters franchise, another Tartan Asia Extreme release. I'm really glad to have these in my collection. So yeah, I already had the original Whispering Quarters in my collection, Whispering Quarters 4 Voice and Whispering Quarters 5 Blood Pledge were already all in my collection, so I had to get the middle few, right, to even it out. So Wishing Stairs is, set in an all-girls school, and this one is more about, like, performance arts, I remember, and there's some rivalries within this performance art school, and this one is probably the scariest of the whole franchise. It's got some really good scares to it. It uses the Onryo ghost, but it does it well. And a big-time actress is in this, Ji-ho Song, who I'm a big fan of now, so I'm looking forward to seeing her again in this. This one has a making-of featurette, director's sketchbook and notes, photo gallery, theatrical promotional materials, Tartan Asian Extreme new releases. So this is the US release, of course. Very good flick. And then I got another copy, the US release of Voice, because I had like a kind of like an all-region release in my collection. I wanted the official US release. This DVD cover art is totally misrepresentative of the film. This is one of my favorite horror films of all time. This is my favorite of this series of films, and it's probably my second favorite Korean horror film behind only A Tale of Two Sisters. And this one has Ok-bin Kim in it, who recently starred in The Villainess and also starred in Thirst. She dies at the beginning of the film, and she becomes a ghost. And there's a really interesting, multi-layered relationship between her and her friend, who's still living. And there's a lot of content in this movie. I'm actually thinking of doing a spoiler review of this. This will be one of the first, discussion spoiler vids I do. This one will be one. Jakarta will be one. MPD Psycho would be one. A Tale of Two Sisters will be one. Possibly Charisma and some other ones for stuff that I had already written up. But I really don't want to get into like those in-depth videos quite yet. But I'll get to them in the next probably year or two. But Voice is fantastic. There's not much gore. Forget the DVD cover art. Very classy, phenomenal movie. I love this. Tons of stuff to think about in this and unpack. This is behind-the-scenes featurette and the theatrical trailer. Love it. I haven't seen this in a while, too. I got to rewatch the whole franchise again, to be honest with you. Another one that I'm ashamed it was not in my collection prior. Bedevilled. This is about a village kind of on an island, and a woman comes in to visit, and she realizes that another woman's getting severely abused by the men on the island. And things, as I always say, spiral out of control. This one is pretty violent. It's kind of a slow burn. Excellent performances. The payoff is great. It's fantastic. I really enjoy this movie. This is up there with I Saw the Devil as one of the best Korean horror films of 2010. Special features doesn't look like... Oh, there's some behind the scenes in the trailer. But this is really good. Again, this is the US release. The last handful of films were the US release. And then finally, in the Korean batch, we have the most generic title for a film ever. The Ghost, also known as Ryung. This one stars... Oh, come on. Why do I forget her name? Ha-neul Kim. Yes, Ha-neul Kim. Who's been in some fantastic K-dramas in the past handful of years. This one, it's kind of hard to describe without spoiling it. Check out my Asian horror playlist review from 2004. This film has more water imagery than Ring. That's how much water imagery is in this. I have another film I'm going to cover in a few minutes that has a lot of water imagery as well. Just kind of a cool stylistic choice by the filmmakers. This film has a really cool plot. I'll just leave it at that. Kind of different. You think this film's going to be super generic, but the ultimate kind of explanation of everything is quite different from a lot of films of this kind. And yeah, you have an Onryo ghost in there and some other stuff, but do not let that deter you. Check out The Ghost if you have not seen it already. It's pretty cool. This is cast interviews, behind the scenes, theatrical trailer, TV spots, and Tartan Asia Extreme new releases. Yes, this is another Tartan Asia Extreme release, people. I need them in my collection. I need all of them. It's nostalgia. Tartan. You know what I mean? This is a good movie. Again, sometimes Asian horror movies, you see something like this, The Ghost, you just watch it, not expecting anything, and it turns out to be surprisingly good. Alright, that's Korea. We only have 4 movies left. They're all from China or Hong Kong or co-productions involving Chinese countries and other countries. Now this one, you know, if I do cover Naked Blood in a separate review in the future, which I really have to, I'm going to cover this one too. Red to Kill. A Hong Kong Category 3 classic from the early 90s. This film is so wrong in so many ways, I can't even begin to describe it. You know, it's kind of like Naked Blood. You know, if you want to watch a movie that's just offensive, you watch Naked Blood and you watch Red to Kill. That's what you do. Sometimes I like covering offensive movies on my channel, and yeah, this will be one of them. I already covered them on my Asian horror playlist, of course. This is like a 94 release. So, this is about a guy who rapes women in a mentally handicapped facility. Yeah, that's what the film's about. And it gets pretty freaking nasty. And there's like a caretaker there who tries to figure out like who's doing this and what's going on. There are scenes in this film that are pretty intense, as you might expect. The bad guy in this gives a fantastic performance, and I haven't really seen him in a lot of other movies. I think it's Ben Ing or something like that is his name. But man, oh, he's so menacing in this. This is really, for adventurous viewers, I'll tell you that much. Like a lot of Hong Kong Cat 3 films were. Now, this is the Greek DVD release because the US release is out of print, and it's just ridiculously expensive. But this might be in Mandarin, which kind of, I'm going to have to watch this. I haven't watched this DVD yet. I think the original dialogue was in Cantonese, so if this is in Mandarin, I don't know what to think about this, but I'm not sure yet. So I'll let you know when I end up reviewing it in a separate video, but, whew, Red to Kill. Oh my. I should do a double feature. I should watch Red to Kill and Naked Blood back to back in the same night. I don't know about that. A couple of duplicate purchases. Diary. The Pang Brothers. This movie's one of my favorite horror films of the 2000s. Fantastic movie. Very artsy, but man, it's so interesting. Charlene Choi is the lead actress in this, and she has psychological problems, and she really is obsessed with her boyfriend. That's all I'm going to tell you. But Diary has some fantastic imagery in it. Like, the imagery in this film it like blends in horror, like dreams and hallucinations into an apartment setting. Because a lot of times when you have dreams and hallucinations in horror films, it'll be in an alternate universe world or something where you're dreaming weird stuff. This takes place in a normal apartment, and weird stuff, like there's really weird imagery in the apartment, which I thought was really cool. There's some fantastic stuff in this. Twists up the wazoo, but I think it's really well done. Isabella Lung is also in this, as well as Sean Yu. Just pulling these names out of my rear end here. I hope I get them all right. If I make a mistake in this video, don't yell at me, because I'm kind of pulling this stuff out of my butt. If you haven't seen Diary, you have to watch it. It's fantastic. This release special features nothing. Got nothing for you. Another Pang Brothers film, Recycle. Again, just like Diary, I have like a Region 3 DVD in my collection. I wanted the US release as well, if for anything, a backup. recycle. This is got Angelica Lee in the lead role, and she basically gets transported into an alternate dimension with lots of crazy stuff going on. Check out my mini review in 2006 in my Asian horror playlist if you want more details. This movie has some awesome imagery to it. Again, really awesome imagery to it. You know, it blends in all kinds of different horror elements, certain aspects of the never-ending story I was reminded of. And, some people were offended by the ending because it makes kind of a point based on the lead character and her prior decisions, being regretful of certain decisions she's made. But I don't want to tell you any more to spoil it for you. But I didn't think it was really an agenda film. And the filmmakers said they didn't have an agenda while making it. But this is really cool stuff. This movie's so much fun to watch. Special features, a making-of featurette, deleted scenes, CG rendering comparisons, the premiere footage, Q&A session with cast and crew, and a trailer. Tons of atmosphere in this. A lot of fun to watch. And finally, last and not least, is another one that kind of flies under the radar. Again, I covered this in my Asian horror playlist from 2005. Suffocation. This is about a dude who is... Actually, I gotta check my notes on this. It's, I want to get this right without spoiling it. After recently killing his unfaithful wife, hope that wasn't a spoiler, and sending her body out to sea, a man suspects that her ghost may be dwelling in a cello case he used to move the body from the crime scene. So this movie has kind of a lot of repetition to it. It focuses on kind of subconscious kind of hallucinations and what's real and what isn't. Tons of water imagery. I need to do a double feature of this and The Ghost. I love double features with horror films. I like to pair stuff up. I like to pair stuff together that are kind of similar. So Suffocation and The Ghost would be interesting for a water imagery double feature, if that makes any sense whatsoever. This movie's special features has comments by the director, behind the scenes, and a trailer. I think this movie is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Kind of artsy and slow paced, but if you want something that's a little different and odd and kind of artistic, this is a very good movie, I think. Suffocation. I think it came out in 2005 or something like that. This is Chinese. Mainland China, I think. And they say mainland China doesn't come out with horror films, but they have been. They've been ramping up lately. So that is it. That's a ridiculous number of horror films to buy in any year, let alone this year. So yes, again, check out descriptions in the box below. Check out my Death of J horror video if you haven't yet. And definitely check some of these movies out. Check out my Asian horror playlist. I give little mini reviews of all of them. Have a ball. It's the Halloween season. Everyone deserves to watch some horror films. And as always, I'll see you next time.